Craving bold flavors and easy recipes? Well, join me today as we journey through Asia and create 3 mouth-watering recipes. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Empty Pantry. I'm Amy, and I'm here to help you turn your tight budget into delicious meals. Today, we're diving into the vibrant world of Asian cuisine with 3 recipes that are sure to become your new favorites. So, whether you're cooking dinner for the family or you're hosting a dinner party, these recipes are going to impress your guests without breaking the bank. So, let's get started.
Today I'll show you how to make some peanut chicken noodles. We'll also make some egg rolls, a little bit of work, but it is worth it. And then finally, I'll show you how to make some Moo Shu chicken and vegetables. Let's start with the peanut chicken noodles. This is a very quick recipe and we're going to use a couple of shortcuts. So for the noodles, I'm just going to use plain old spaghetti. You could of course use some ramen noodles or some type of Asian noodle, but you know what? I always have spaghetti in my pantry, so that's what I'm going to use. So once my water is boiling, I'm going to add about 8 ounces of pasta to the boiling water. And I'm going to cook it just according to directions. I just want it to be a normal spaghetti, just not too mushy as it cooks. So once that's going, I'm going to move over to a frying pan. I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of oil. I'm using olive oil. You could use whatever oil that you have, just a little bit. And then to the oil, once it gets nice and warm, we're going to add 1 bell pepper that I have sliced up into like bite size so they're not a full length of the bell pepper. And I'm using a red bell pepper because it adds a really nice color to it. Use whatever color bell pepper that you have and whatever is cheapest and in season. So red bell pepper tonight on this. And I'm just going to cook this until it starts to get a little bit soft because the rest of the recipe is going to go really quick. So get that nice and soft before adding some chicken. So this is going to be our first shortcut, is to add some pre-cooked chicken. This is from a grocery store chicken. I just cut up about 3 cups of it, and that's what I'm using. If you don't already have a chicken that's pre-cooked, then you're going to have to cook the chicken until you get about 3 cups and shred it up. So a large chicken breast, maybe 2, depending on the size of the chicken breast. But to make it super fast, we're using pre-cooked chicken. So I'm just going to stir that around, get it nice and warm. I did have it in the refrigerator, so I just need to make sure that it's warm and not cold before going on to add my next ingredient, which is some green onions. I've sliced up 3 green onions and I'm going to add the whites and the greens to this. This is a really nice color and adds such a gentle onion flavor when you use the green onions. So we have those in there. Now we just have one main other ingredient, and this is a major shortcut, is to use the Trader Joe's peanut sauce. This has a really good flavor and it's super easy and it is really cheap at Trader Joe's. I think it's just a couple bucks. And man, this makes a super quick dinner. Now, if you have extra time and you would like to make your peanut sauce from scratch, here's the recipe for it. You basically just put all the ingredients together, you warm it up, and then you have your peanut sauce. As you can see, it's a lot of ingredients and it takes a little bit of extra time. So coming out of the bottle is nice and fast. So that's what I'm using this time when I'm making my peanut chicken noodles. My noodles have finished cooking, and so I'm going to drain the liquid off of them. And then I'm just going to pour my sauce over the top of them. Notice that I have a big enough pan to do this. Once those are all in, the last thing I want to do is I'm just going to squeeze about 1 lime over the top of it. This adds a nice freshness to the dish. You don't really taste the lime juice per se, but it does add a nice little kick and makes the dish really good. Serve it up with a few sesame seeds on top, and you have a delicious dish. Okay, we're going to make some egg rolls. This is a little bit labor intensive, but it's worth it, and it makes quite a few of them. Definitely for a family, for dinner, or it can kind of last you for a few days if you just want to eat 1 or 2 at a time. So I'm going to start by browning some meat. Tonight I'm using ground hamburger. I generally use a ground pork or a ground chicken. I would use any 3 of those. They're all delicious with these egg rolls. So we're just going to brown it up and make sure that you're crumbling up fairly small as you're cooking it. And you want it to be thoroughly cooked because it's not really going to cook after this. So there's not going to be an opportunity to cook it more. So make sure that it's all the way cooked through. Now we're going to add some seasoning. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, and then we're also going to add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. This combination makes that flavor that you're looking for in an egg roll. So we're going to add those, and then we need to add some vegetables to this. So I'm going to add half a cup of shredded carrots, 2 cups of chopped shredded cabbage. You're looking for kind of a stringy, not like grated cabbage. So a shredded cabbage. We're going to mix that in with about 15 ounces of bean sprouts. You could leave the bean sprouts off if you don't like bean sprouts. It'll be just fine without them. I want all of this to cook down just a little bit, so I'm going to put a lid on it and let it get wilted down just a little bit. And then I'm going to move over to my cutting board where I'm going to set up my little wrapping station. So I'm using some egg roll wrappers. There's nothing special about these. They're just from the grocery store, and they're in the refrigerator section. Sometimes they're in the produce department. So depending on your store, you'll have to kind of look for them. They're usually by the tofu area is where I find them. So I'm going to open my egg roll wrappers, and I'm just going to kind of get my little setup set up. One of the things I'm going to need to make is a little slurry to seal my egg rolls. I'm going to do this by taking 1 tablespoon of just all-purpose flour, and I'm going to mix that with 2 tablespoons of water and just mix it so that it kind of looks like a paste. And then I'm going to use a little kitchen paintbrush to close my wrappers when the time comes. And to check on my filling, it's wilted down just a little bit. I'm going to give it a little bit of stir to try to distribute the ingredients evenly. And then I'm going to lay down my first egg roll wrapper. My cutting board is dry. There's nothing on it. The wrappers have a little bit of flour so they don't stick as bad. I'm going to add a generous scoop of filling to my egg roll wrapper. You can see I got a little bit of everything in there. That's what you're looking for. And then I'm going to fold it one side over. I'm going to pull and tuck. And then I'm going to tuck the 2 ends in. So I'm making like a little envelope. And before I roll it all of the way, I'm going to use my paintbrush and use my little paste to get my little envelope nice and sealed. This is where it kind of gets a little bit messy and a little bit sticky, but that paste does do a good job of keeping those little egg rolls together. And so that's what it looks like. And then I'll continue the process with my wrappers and filling until all of my filling is gone. I did not use the full package of egg roll wrappers for this amount of filling. It really depends on if you did those bean sprouts, they take up a lot of room, and how much you're putting in every egg roll. So you might have some wrappers left over. So once those are all done, nice and sealed up, we need to fry them. I am frying them, so I'm using a deep pan with about 1 cup of oil. You'll want a good generous like 1/2 inch or so, maybe 1/3 of an inch of oil at the bottom. So it really depends on how big your pan is, and use something that can handle a high heat, preferably a peanut oil or an avocado oil. They can both get up to 500 degrees without smoking. I used avocado oil tonight and it worked really, really well. Once the oil is nice and hot, we're going to add our egg rolls very gently. You don't want to splash the oil. I test it by dipping the end of it just to see if it sizzles. If it doesn't, it's just absorbing the oil and the oil is not hot enough. So this was hot enough. You can see that it's nice and bubbly around the edges, and they cook very fast. Those egg roll wrappers are very thin and cook extremely fast. So don't walk away. This is just going to take a minute on each side. So we're going to watch them, and as they brown, we'll start to turn them over. Make sure you have plenty of room in your pan that they're not touching, and that you have room to do the flip over when the time comes. Okay, it's looking like they're getting brown on the bottom, so I'm going to flip them over to the next side. You're going to do 4 flips on these, so just rotate around the sides. They stand up pretty good. As you can see, they're not just falling over. So, well, except that one. That one didn't want to cooperate. But roll them over to their sides, and you're just going to wait till that side gets brown and continue until they're brown on all sides. Place them on a paper-lined plate when you're done with paper towels, and then continue the process until the entire batch is done. Okay, I have them all fried up, and I'm ready to serve them. So let them cool off just a tad. They do cool off fairly quickly, so not longer than a tad, a minute or two. I'm going to serve them with some sweet and sour sauce. They're quite delicious just plain without anything on them, but the sweet and sour sauce is good, and the kiddos like to dip it in something, so that adds a little sweet treat to your egg rolls. Okay, finally, let's make some Moo Shu chicken and vegetables. This is really good, and it's such a simple recipe that has just a great flavor to it. So I'm starting with a large pan. This is actually like a wok style. You can use whatever pan you want. Just make sure that it's large enough to move things around. I'm going to have a little bit of oil to the bottom, and to that, I'm going to add about 1 pound of chicken. Of course, mine is frozen. You guys know that I am so bad about defrosting things. So I did make sure that oil was not too hot, so I didn't have any fires or anything like that. I have done that and caught the hood vent on fire and it melted. It was kind of crazy and fast, but so don't do that. Don't add the frozen chicken to the oil. That's a bad idea. So add a little bit of salt and pepper, and I'm just going to get that nice and cooked up until it's thoroughly cooked. Now, to make sure that we don't overcook the chicken, I am going to remove it from the pan. I'm just going to put it in a little stainless steel bowl off to the side. If you let it stay in there, it's going to get kind of chewy and rubbery, and we don't want that. So we're just going to set it to the side for a little bit before we go on to cook our vegetables and the sauce for this. So once that chicken is all removed, we're going to add 4 cups of frozen vegetables. This is a stir-fry mix from Costco. You can get them really cheap at the grocery stores if you buy the store brand. It'll just be like a stir-fried vegetable mix. They usually have a couple different options. For instance, there's one that has mushrooms and one that doesn't. My husband hates mushrooms, so I don't opt for that one. This Costco one is pretty good, and most of the family likes most of the ingredients. There may be some that pick out some of the ingredients, but this one's pretty good. Nice, big, fresh vegetables. So I just need to cook those down. You could also use fresh vegetables. Just cook them until they are nice. While those are getting nice and soft, I'm going to make my sauce. So I'm going to start with 1/2 cup of chicken broth or chicken stock. Either way, you want the chicken flavor and the liquid. And then to that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. This will help it thicken up once it gets in the pan and gets warmed up. And then 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. You can use low salt or regular, either one. Just keep in mind that your chicken broth is also salty. You don't want it to be too salty. And that is going to be our sauce. So we're just going to get that whisked up and we're just going to set it over to the side. You want to make sure that that cornstarch is thoroughly mixed in. It's going to look like a little bit of a milky, kind of look for the sauce. We're just going to set that aside while we finish up those vegetables. Okay, my vegetables are nice and hot. Now I got to put this thing together. So I'm going to pour my mixed sauce over my vegetables. I know it looks watery, but it's going to thicken up because we put that cornstarch in there. And then also we're going to add our chicken back in. And then we're just going to cook this until that sauce gets a nice coating. It's kind of a clear gravy looking kind of sauce, but obviously it's Asian flavored. So just mix those up. And then once that sauce is to the right consistency, you have a nice coating on everything, we're going to serve it up, and you're going to serve it just like this. If you want a little bit extra soy sauce, you can do that, but it's great just with the chicken and vegetables and a little bit of sauce.
These 3 Asian-inspired dishes are packed with simplicity and delicious, making them perfect for any weeknight meal. I'm curious as to which one you're going to try first. Please let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I have so many more recipes to share with you. So until next time, happy cooking. Bye.